What's your name?
Alex.
Alex. Okay. Nice to meet you, Alex. Where are you from?
North Wales.
North Wales. Is it nice?
It's okay.
What do you do, Alex?
Chemist.
Chemist, nice. Alex. Not normal. So I'm a philosopher. Yeah, another one, yeah. And I'm interested in the philosophy of normality, which is kind of interesting really, because most of the people who do philosophy aren't actually that interested in normality. Very few people work on it. I think it might be because, you know, most philosophers just really aren't that normal. I mean, they tend to sort of fall in love with, you know, really sort of old white guys whose ideas are all from like the 17th century. So I guess by marrying one, Melania Trump has effectively become the greatest philosopher in history. Yeah. See, the thing is about philosophers is they're just not very normal. I'll give you an example, right? So take Kantians. So these are big fans of Immanuel Kant. That's Kant, by the way. Don't do this. Serious act. Now, the Kantians, you know, they're a big fan of this guy, Immanuel Kant, who famously kind of spent his entire life in the same sort of small town. He would get up at the same time every day, he would go for a walk, he would then just read some philosophy, have lunch. You could literally say you're watched by him, right? He did the same thing every day. He had a very boring life. Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm thinking about who I should be inspired by, whose ideas I should draw upon when it comes to my own understanding of the world, you know, when you've got all of history's figures, you know, laid out in front of you, you know, the greats like William Shakespeare, you know, Clement Attlee, Kim Kardashian, you think, no, I want the weird loner who hates women. That's the guy for me. He best captures what I want to believe. So yeah, philosophers, not normal. But also I think as well, another group that's definitely not normal are stand-up comedians. You see, and I think it's because they're very similar to philosophers in a lot of ways, right? Both people want to stand in front of a crowd and sort of pretend like they're an authority on some kind of subject, right? Now, obviously there's a difference in response to what they're receiving, right? So one group, their ideas are met with laughter and, you know, uproar, and, you know, occasionally there'll be like very oversensitive people with very fragile egos in the audience who'll get angry and shout and then storm out. And the other group of stand-up comedians. So, and I mean, there's other similarities between sort of stand-up comedians and philosophers as well, because we both often get asked to do work for free, right? So if you're a stand-up comedian, people are always going to be asking you to tell them a joke, right? And if you're a philosopher, people are always going to be asking you to tell them the meaning of life. To both, I just say, to get to the other side. So, yeah, and now obviously I know what you're all thinking. Jon, yeah, how could you say that philosophers and stand-up comedians are not normal when, come on, we can all see you, right? Is there a, you know, possible person who is even more normal than you? No, I don't think so, right? You're the most normal person I can see. And you'd be right, in fact. It's in here, in my little book. I've written right at the first page, Jon Bebb, normal. Can you all see that? It's indisputable. And I'm an expert on this, so I should know. Now, you probably all want an explanation as to how I got to that conclusion, and to do that we're going to need to do some philosophy. Yeah, is everyone excited? Yeah, I mean, 2 people have already done it so far, right? You're all basically philosophy students now, so your career prospects have gone down since the start. Just so you're all aware. Now, to start with then, we need to look at what existing people on the subject have written. And generally speaking, most people who write about normality, they tend to believe that the term normal can be used in different ways to sort of denote set up different meanings, essentially. So you've got the descriptive sense of normal and the prescriptive sense of normal. Now, for the first one, for the descriptive, what I want you to do is imagine the most kind of generic, boring, uninteresting, average kind of person you can. Okay? So this is a person who is never in a minority for anything, and for any statistical average, they pretty much fall directly on that average. Okay? So they drink 2 cups of coffee a day, they spend 24 hours on their phone per week, continuously. And also, over their lifetime, they will have 5.5 sexual partners. Pretty horrifying, I think, but you know. Now, to sort of help illustrate this, to help teach you all about this, I think I'm going to need a volunteer. So when I was reading out those statistical facts, who felt like, yeah, this really represents me? Who wants to be the embodiment of the average? Raise your hand. God, this man right here is great. Andrea, okay, so I'm here. So, Andrea, how many cups of coffee do you drink a day, do you reckon, on average?
3.
3, okay. So, oh, nice, good choice. So slightly more than the average. How long do you spend on your phone per week, would you say?
A week. That's 24 hours if you want to.
And have you ever made any decisions that you really strongly regret? So, Andrea, what I want you to do is you are going to be the embodiment of this notion of average. So I want you to just hold this sign. Now, you now embody the concept of the average. So I want you to sort of act in a way that you think the concept of average would act.
Try my best.
Okay, proceed.
I'm very average.
Right, this guy's a natural. So we've got, this is the sort of what the descriptive use of normal gets us, but now we need to talk about the prescriptive. So this is more about kind of ideals, right? What we ought to be doing in the world, right? So it's when you say like it's not normal to kill someone or steal or do that kind of thing, right? That's what you mean. There's kind of an implicit value judgment in that. You're saying it's bad to not be normal in this sense. So a person who is ideal in this, so a person who is normal in this sense will be kind of like an ideal, right? Sort of perfect person. So who thinks they're perfect in the audience here? Anyone? No, nobody wants to take this up. And I'm drawn to you with the amazing facial hair, to be honest. Michael, nice to meet you. Okay, so you are now the ideal, okay? Now, as I'm saying, on the sort of traditional accounts there's a very clear split between these two, okay? So I want you to sort of move apart to illustrate this, right? So now we've got this kind of, so on the traditional understanding, you know, we have these two very distinct notions of normal, right? We have what's ideal and what's statistically average. But I think that actually this is a mistake, because if you're talking about statistical averages, it still feels like you're saying something wrong about someone, you know, if you claim that they're not normal in this case, right? If someone doesn't meet a kind of statistical average, it seems like you're saying something bad about them, okay? Now, to end the show on, I want to explain like how my account works. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a little thing to do. I'm going to bring this chair forward slightly. And basically, I'm going to give a little speech to sort of talk about my account. And when I say the word shaped, what I want you both to do is sort of move together in like a way that's very kind of artistic and engaging. To really sort of think about how great my ideas are. And I just want you to both put your hands in the back of this chair, okay? So you've all got that, you both got that, right? Okay, wonderful. So, on my account then, the notion of normal is shaped by, shaped, yeah? The average and the ideal, and what's normal is just whatever sits in between. Ladies and gentlemen, is why I am normal.